welcome to Nashville Sites. We're here at Fort Negley with the museum coordinator, Krista. I'm Marley Abbott. I'm the director of marketing and information, and today we're going to do a really cool behind the scenes here at Fort Negley with Krista and look at some of their objects they've got in their collections.
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've pulled here?
Yes. So in this box, we have a small portion of a collection of letters that was donated by a descendant of a soldier who was stationed at Fort Negley between October 1864 and July 1865. His name was William Cammack, and he served with the 12th Indiana Light Artillery. He was from Grant County, Indiana. And these letters have offered some really great insight just into not only what life was like at the fort and in Nashville, but also what his life was like just before the Civil War and during those early years of the Civil War, what life was like in the North on the home front. So we've learned some pretty amazing things from William Cammack.
Yeah.
A lot of the letters are between he and his brother Calvin, who was about 8 years younger.
Okay.
And basically, everything we know about William and Calvin are in these letters because tragically they both died in 1868.
Okay.
And we have not located a cause of death or anything associated with that.
Sure.
So we're still hunting that down.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything specific in here you wanted to look at, or can you tell me a little bit how you have things arranged and organized?
So we just have them arranged by date, and these are all acid-free archival materials.
Okay.
Each individual page or envelope is housed in a sleeve.
Okay.
And these letters are available to the public for research purposes. We just ask that you make an appointment in advance.
Sure.
We also have about 60 of these letters on Fort Negley's Flickr page. So
Okay.
you can also check those out.
Awesome.
There.
That's a great digital tool to have.
Yeah. And there's about 700 pages that were generated during this period between 1858 and 1865-ish. But it's also interesting because he had friends who were serving in other units in the Eastern and Western theaters. So one of our most interesting letters, it's not in this box, but it's a friend stationed just outside of Memphis.
Okay.
And this is a letter that is on our Flickr page, it's a wonderful letter because he is so complimentary of U.S. colored troops, which unfortunately we don't find very often.
Absolutely.
In Civil War. And this box also represents another ongoing project. So there's an area within Fort Negley Park, very close to Adventure Science Center, and it's the location of an early African American neighborhood. So the thought is that perhaps some of the people that lived here were descendants of the laborers who worked at Fort Negley during the war. So what we've uncovered is just a variety of artifacts, many of them in fragments, of bottles, household items, things like crockery, and this project we've conducted in coordination with Dr. Andrew Wyatt at MTSU and his
Okay.
archaeology students.
Mm-hmm.
During pre-COVID times, they would come out and excavate in
Awesome.
this area. So they have other artifacts that they're processing at their lab.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope to get back to this very soon because we've uncovered some very
Yeah,
interesting artifacts.
absolutely. And it looks like everything is labeled very meticulously and everything is organized.
Yes, so we assign everything a catalog number, then we fill out an accession form with the details, measurements, a description of every object, and then we also photograph the objects and then put them in a spreadsheet as
So
well.
I know you have a little bit of ongoing research right now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have here?
Yes. So these are hard copies of microfilm of the labor rolls that were created during the Civil War. And these are, the originals are housed at the National Archives,
Okay.
but TSLA has them on microfilm. So these are labor rolls of free, enslaved, and self-emancipated African Americans that worked on Nashville's fortifications.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the only roll that has been uncovered is the roll covering from August 1st, 1862 through April 1st, 1863.
Okay.
We've identified that several other rolls existed up until and through 1864. So those other rolls are still to be discovered. So the names on this list, you may have seen the flags when you came in. Those flags are in honor of the people on this roll. So there's 2,771 flags.
Wow.
So a few months ago, I just happened to be looking at U.S. Color Troops pension records on Fold 3 and came across Jerry Jackson, and there were several depositions for his wife's pension application, and they all mentioned having worked with Jerry Jackson at Fort Negley.
Wow.
So this was the first laborer that we could actually identify, and start to see the whole person. Because unfortunately on these labor rolls, it's just the name of the slave owner, how many months the laborer worked on fortifications, and then how much wages they were due. But because of these pension records, we've been able to identify 45 individuals listed on these labor rolls. So from here, I was able to find their pension records, and then also, just any other data available on Fold 3 and Ancestry.com. So burial records, death records, and Jerry Jackson. Yes, he died in 1860. So we got some details of his life while he worked at the fort. Like, for example, he didn't visit his family in Dixon County for over a year because he was afraid of Confederate guerrillas operating. We also learned that he became ill while working on the Nashville Northwestern Railroad, and he spent a lot of time near the fire, and the smoke permanently damaged his eyes. So a lot of interesting things that we've been able to uncover. We also identified another laborer, Isaac Berry, because one of his descendants happened to come into the visitor center and say, you know, I think my ancestor worked on the fort.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to identify him that way. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, we're very excited about, you know, being able to identify people, kind of bringing them out of the shadows, because, you know, they really are those that history has forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
The largest artifact, and it was discovered just within inches of the soil, the surface of the ground during an archaeological survey in 1993. And then we also, you know, not very often, but we still uncover artifacts on occasion. So like the animal bone and the burned charcoal, Fort Negley stuff, discovered that. And then, you know, another interesting thing, it was always assumed that after the Civil War and before the Works in Progress Administration developed the park, the houses that are in the little alleyway on the southern side of the fort, we always assumed that those were occupied by male railroad workers. But then you go out to the location and you find things like perfume bottles, nail polish, little porcelain dolls. So the artifacts really changed our perspective on who was actually living there. That there were families and not just these transient railroad workers. So last year, Fort Negley was recognized by UNESCO's Slave Rock Project, which highlights sites integral to our understanding of the global slave trade. And Fort Negley was chosen for that designation also because of the self-emancipation component. So we're very excited to have two new designations, one international and one national. So
Absolutely.
it's great to get Fort Negley more recognition that the site definitely deserves.
Absolutely. Well, we want to encourage everybody to take our Fort Negley walking tour and virtual tour, which you can take on your cell phone, your desktop, or your tablet. You can also check us out on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Krista, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.